Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's Monday,
8 p.m.
it's the Monday assessment.
Your people gather round your town when things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows, find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, everyone, and I hope you've had a really good Monday and weekend, of course. We are, of course, back at our normal time of 8 o'clock this evening for this week's Monday assessment by the view from the Medway Fancast in partnership with Gillingham FC Supporters Club and sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station. I'm delighted this evening to be joined by Pieman Simon, by Mike and Phil. How are we, gents?
Lovely.
All good, thanks, mate.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So what we will do, gents, we will just move straight on. It's got quite a packed show tonight. So we'll move straight on to the Views News. And the Views News this week is Agbanone's return to Palace, Coleman's squad roast, Walsall away, and criticism of Joe Compa this week. Was it fair or unjustified? So I will start with you, Simon, with the Agbanone situation. Obviously, he got injured at Barrow. Hamstring, I'm led to believe. So screams a little bit of a certain player we had on loan last season, doesn't it, Mr. Jorge Hurtado? What were your thoughts on him going back, and do you think we'll see him again in a Gills shirt?
To be honest with you, no, really. Once they do get injured, I think they have to go back to their club anyway, don't they? I think.
Yeah.
How long was left of his loan period or whatever? Was it just to the end of the season or?
Yeah, so it was just until the end of the season. So
hopefully to see him back. To be fair, I just I don't really know on that. That's my answer on that. I just don't really. I can't see sometimes players returning, don't they, with the sometimes atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, and yourself, mate, what were your thoughts on Asher going back to Palace after his injury?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, really, because I don't think he completed the full 90 minutes for us, did he? He either started and came off or came off the bench, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
And even I know he was only with us for a month, but even then, it seemed every game he'd pick up a little niggle or a knock, wouldn't he? You know, whether this level's not right for him and his style, the type of footballer he is, not sure. But, you know, who knows? We might see him back before the end of the season. All depends.
Yeah. Yeah, and Phil, your thoughts on Asher?
Well, he made a full start for us, didn't he? He played in Donny, Grimsby, Notts County and Barrow. And what we saw of him was really promising. So it's obviously a bit disappointing that he's picked up this hamstring. He's had to go back. I just echo everyone else's thoughts that, you know, we'd love to see him back in Priestfield again before the end of the season, but you know, we just don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, I was really excited when he came in. I thought, you know, what I've seen of him, I've seen him in PL2, and I've also seen him when he played against us earlier on in the season in the Pizza Trophy. And I thought he played really well. So it is a shame. It's the pace that we needed and the games that he has had, he's been pretty decent. So we will move on to what the events that happened apparently in the dressing room after Barrow and Coleman's roasting of the squad, shall we say, after what was a dismal performance. So, Mike, I'll go with you, mate. Did you hear about it at the time, and what are your thoughts on the way that he's conducted it?
Yeah, well, I mean, he came out after the game, didn't he, to the press, and that was probably a censored version that he gave compared to the one that he probably would have given in the dressing room. Look, by that time, he'd been here a month, hadn't he? And he'd had more than enough time to work everyone out, assess the situation. And I think he probably thought, right, I've given you all a fair crack and you're not cutting it. So, you know, I'm, for want of a better phrase, going to throw you under the bus publicly. I won't go as mad out there as what I'm going to do in here. But I've given you all a chance and no one's stepping up. So, you know. Yeah. Phil?
Yeah, I watched back his comments just before we came on this evening. And as Mike says, what we had in that press conference was the uncensored version. But the bottom line is, he's been with these players a month and he hasn't managed to get a win out of them. And he must be at the end of his tether with the way in which they've played and which they haven't been able to get the results that they've needed. So it was entirely right and proper that he told them exactly how the land needed to lie. And you know, fair play, as we'll talk about in a moment, the squad have responded to that. And he did the right thing for the right reasons in the right way. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, I think it kind of then leads us on nicely to the Walsall game, because I think to a man we definitely reacted as a team to what was said. We could have easily, when we went 1-0 down, we could have easily let our shoulders drop. And I thought that's exactly what would happen. But then Robbie's rocket in the second half was something to behold, wasn't it, Mike?
Oh, yeah, cracking strike, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely. Yeah, and what were your thoughts on the Walsall game, Simon?
Yeah, I was actually there. It was absolutely, you know, being like from Midlands anyway, you think, oh, God, we're going to lose. But like you said, I think with Coleman sort of, you know, roasting them, and rightfully so, they played absolutely, you know, the best I've seen them, to be fair, you know, like for quite a while. And we could have quite easily nicked that game. And Walsall are top. They're top for a reason, you know. But hopefully we can, you know, they can kick on from this and just have a bit of luck now and again as well, really. But it was a great atmosphere of the 220 that went there, you know.
Yeah, and Phil, you know, I think that, you know, Simon touched on it, like being a great atmosphere, and there's been a massive disconnect lately between the players and the fans. And it was nice for the players to take their time, wasn't it, at full time and come over to the fans and maybe try to build a few bridges there. Phil?
Yeah, it's definitely really important, actually, that for everyone's confidence. Yeah, so we could have done what we've done all season, which is fold once we went a goal down. But instead, the fight was there. You know, Robbie McKenzie's goal, there's no doubt about it. It is going to be goal of the season. Unless something similar happens again before the end of the season. But I can't see that happening. The way in which the players reacted to that, you know, going over and celebrating with the fans, I think it's a special moment. And this game is going to linger long in the memory for the simple reason that we all needed it. It was only a draw, but it felt like a win. You know, just because we played so well for the first time since probably the opening game of the season.
Yep, so we will just skip on to a certain Q&A on last Monday night. I've heard things during the week. I appreciate Simon hasn't watched or listened to this. So I will go with Mike on this one, and the criticism this week that I've heard, criticism of Joe Comper and the way that he came across in it. And is it fair or is it unjustified?
What, last Monday alone, Kris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me a bit, we didn't really get anything out of it for me. I know they came across well, him and Brad, they always do. They're really good in that respect, but I didn't come away, sorry to say, I came away quite despondent, I've got to be honest with you, because I couldn't really take anything away from it, Kris, that either A, we didn't really already know, or B, obviously that was prior to the Walsall game. We just needed a little bit of a crumb of comfort, a little bit of a lift, and I didn't really feel we got that personally.
Okay, fair enough. Phil, yourself?
I have to agree. I think if I'd been in their shoes, if I was their media advisor, I would have counselled them to do something short and sweet. They needed to do something after the Barrow game. No two ways about it. But unfortunately, doing something the night before a big game against the league leaders, not the brightest of things to have done. And then to allow it to go on for an hour and a half and long-winded, not saying very much, but in a very long-winded way answers, I think that added to some of our frustration. So, if they'd done something short and sweet that's about 10 minutes, laser-focused, then we'd probably come out of it a bit better. As it stands, it's just added to a bit more of the frustrations we've all got.
Yeah. I won't. I'm going to get splinters on this one. I'm a bit torn. Like I can see, I can kind of understand some opinions on it, but at the same time, I'm not of that opinion. So at the end of the day, it is all about opinion. I think it's fair to a degree, but it's unjustified more than it is fair. So if that makes any sense at all to anyone. So we will just quickly move on to the Alex facts. So the club was founded in 1877 as a spin-off of Crewe Alex Cricket Club. Crewe reached the FA Cup semi-final in 1888 and were a founding member of the Football League Division 2 in 1892. I have missed the O out of Dario Gradi's name there. He's the club's longest-serving manager. He took over in 1983 and was there until 2007. So we will just quickly touch on our lineups. And we had Glenn Morris in goal. It was a back five of Clark, Gale, Amos, Smith and Hutton. We then had Little and Mackenzie sitting in front of him with Dom, Corness just in front of those two. And a change to the lineup. Really, the only change was JJ Morgan coming in and Kambene replacing him on the bench because I have heard that Joe Bodo picked up an injury. So I'll go with you first then, Simon. And what were your thoughts on the lineup? Personally, I think it's really good because we've been calling for a slight bit of consistency within the lineups that we don't seem to have got in recent weeks and months. So one change and exactly the same lineup as it was against Walsall, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think, like everyone knows, like with Gal and everyone like that, and Smith, I think that when they came in, they've done wonders, especially Gal, to bring trying to get that defence going. I just don't understand Hutton sometimes. He can either play absolutely really great or he just, he's not with it sometimes. I don't know why, but the lineup itself, I think that's probably our best squad at the moment. Yeah,
Mike, I think I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think I'd probably change a couple of things. I'd probably put Dak in where Corness is. I like Ollie Hawkins. So, yeah. I mean, I've been quite critical of Ollie Hawkins, say he runs in treacle. But when he came on against Walsall on Tuesday night, I thought he changed the game.
He made a difference, didn't he? And for that reason, I'd be tempted to start with him on Saturday. Not sure who I'd have alongside him. for a bit of pace, maybe Joe if he's fit. I was disappointed not to see him involved, but obviously, you know, we found out he'd got a tweak. Still not sure about Morgan. I know he's only a young lad and it's his first taste of men's professional football. So yeah, I'd be tempted to start with Hawkins on Saturday personally.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I think the problem is, isn't it, Phil? With I do understand this actually. People said, yeah, it's okay for him to come on when he's playing against tired defenders. So maybe starting him, would it be beneficial? But I mean, taking nothing away from Elliot Nevitt on Saturday. He worked his socks off. He tried. So, Phil, what were your thoughts on the lineup, mate?
Well, I was delighted that we had a little bit of consistency, which we've been lacking all season. So it finally looks like Coleman's figuring out who his best squad are and is trying to work with that. It does mean we've got a lot of players who aren't even on the bench. And you just wonder what's happened to them, what are their thoughts, how they're feeling. But at the same time, we need to get points on the board, and that's what he's going for. I mean, Morgan, really impressed with, and I think there's a lot more to come from him. Cornish, I can see some real glimmers of excitement from him. And obviously, we'll talk about Sam Gale in depth later. But my goodness, he's a great addition. Smith as well, they've really made a difference to our side in just a short space of time. And fingers crossed that can keep going this coming week as well.
Can I just
we could only hope so.
say, Matt Clark, I mean, when I saw him, he didn't come on at Barrow, but then he come on, I think it was Walsall when he started then. I think he gives it his all, which I like about him, and that's what you want from players, isn't it? Just to, run around and try to get the ball and pass it around and all that. I don't know if anyone else thinks the same, but
anyone else?
It's nice seeing some people actually running on the pitch rather than obviously some other times this season. A little nice Sunday afternoon stroll.
Yeah,
I think the streaker run quicker than some of them.
So we'll just touch on the game then. We'll go with the first half. Obviously, we generally give an overview of the whole game. But we'll break it down into halves this week because I think that there was a palpable amount of chances in the first half to talk about. So we obviously, JJ Morgan had a shot, keeper saved. There was also a Marnie Little, which was a well-worked corner. Skied it, unfortunately. Romeo Hutton hit the bar from across. And also there was Robbie McKenzie, who seems to have lucked out after Walsall because it was anything but a decent shot. So, Phil, I'll go with you first on this one, mate. What were your thoughts on the first half?
Well, again, like we saw at Walsall on Tuesday, everything seemed to be that much sharper. They were really going for it. They were trying to make chances, and they were actually shooting, which is something we all want to see. One of those early attempts was a hoofball that actually worked, and you could see the team passing it around, looking for the advantage and trying to get through. So that was great. But then the flip side to that is there were a few defensive errors on our part, and we were lucky not to give away a goal, particularly that dreadful moment when Glenn Norris wasn't in front of his goal because he tried to block a shot that was coming in to the side of him, and we had an empty goal mouth and no one standing there. But thankfully, their shot went wide, and I can't tell you how relieved I was at that moment in time. But on the whole, much improved first half for me. Yeah.
And Simon, I'll go with you, mate. And what were your thoughts on the first half? And
I think like Phil just said, when we have a chances and. When they start sort of passing it around, I don't like it when they do hang on to it too long in defence, and then it's a hoof. Or it's like straight across the defence, bang, and we hang on the ball too long. But I don't think, to be honest, we've done that first half. I think it's nice to see him get stuck in and work as a sort of team, really. So I think that's what they did first half. But more second, but that's when we're going to come on.
Yeah, Mike?
Yeah, well, what impressed me, Kris, was for the first time in God knows how long, we looked like the home team at home. We had an intent, we had purpose, we were trying to take the game to Crewe. And when was the last time we did that at home? You know,
Cheltenham, probably Cheltenham.
Yeah, I can't remember that far back.
Was that December?
Well,
That was when Lampson
1989.
scored, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was December, just before the MK Dons game, I think, wasn't it? I'll have to double check on that one, but yeah. So then we went into the second half, Phil, and I'll go with you first, mate. Your thoughts? You know, a few chances there, some contentious issues that I will ask each of you individually when we finish talking about the second half. But again, I think it was less even in the second half. I think we came out with real intent. We were on the front foot. So yeah, what were your thoughts on the second half?
Yeah, again, as you say, that we dominated and we just couldn't manage to get the ball in the back of the net. Well, we did, but the ref didn't allow it. But that's another story altogether. But we should have won that comfortably. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why we didn't manage to get the ball in the net. But it wasn't through the lack of trying. And this is, again, we came away feeling like we'd had a good afternoon at the football rather than worrying about what could have been. It looks like it's coming, and it looks like when it actually happens, it won't just be the odd one or two, but it'll be an absolute feast of goals. And I'm holding on to that because I think we're in for a real treat once Coleman gets everything clicked into place.
Yeah. So, and Mike, it seems to be this age-old issue, doesn't it, with our Achilles heel being able to score goals. And yeah, so what are your thoughts on the second half? And obviously, we'll get on to the other bits in a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Gills of old, didn't it? Throwing the kitchen sink at the Rainham second half. Again, it's been too long since that's happened. And, it wasn't, as you just said, it wasn't for the want of trying. Perhaps at times, not with all of them, but perhaps at times, a little bit of a lack of composure more composure was probably needed. Sort of Robbie McKenzie going back to the first half. But, again, it's coming. It's coming, as Phil said. I'm not quite sure it's going to be the feast he thinks, but we'll take a scrappy 1-0 all day long.
Yeah, Simon, your thoughts on the second half, mate?
Yeah, exactly the same, really. It's just, in the end of the day, it's just that final someone who can put it in the back of the net. A bit of say, what might say, composure. Because everything else is there to win the games. It's just that final thing, and it's the same old, isn't it? When you score, you're going to kill teams off, and we're not lucky at the moment, are we? Because we're just working our way up again. So hopefully, it's good. Like I say, it looks like it's coming.
Yeah,
I just hope we don't go backwards.
No, we can't now. I think I think if we can now get this, as we keep talking about, consistency within the lineup, consistency within the formation, and just go with it, even if we have days where we play well but we don't get any points, or it needs to be that consistent thing now. You can't keep chopping and changing it, because the players look like they fit into the style. I mean, Andy Smith at centre back was brilliant. We will talk about the other two. Well, I think Max Amer was quite good as well, to be fair. And I've been quite critical of him of late. And Sam Gale, but we will talk about Sam Gale, I'm sure, in a bit more detail in a moment. So I do want to quickly touch on first the penalty shout. And it's Max Clark got his legs taken out. So, Mike, what were your thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one back since. At the time, it looked a blatant penalty. But then the weird thing was, Kris, that considering there was a lot of our players in and around the incident, I mean, and even Max Clark, no one really sort of went mad in terms of appealing, did they?
No.
Which sort of makes you think, what perhaps it wasn't, but it certainly looked it at the time.
Yeah, and Simon, we will get onto it a little bit as well, but I think the level of officiating on Saturday was pretty terrible. Considering you've got a referee that's reffed 3 or 4 games, professional football games, which is quite worrying in itself. I know everyone's got to start somewhere, but maybe start them in National League or something and then build them up rather than chucking them into was a bit of a could have been for us. It's it's a sort of fight against survival now, isn't it?
I think because when I get some spare time, I watch AFC Telford, because it's only down the road, and the officials are just the same as are in Division 2. So when they do build him up in that league, the consistency of them, it's bizarre. It's like Gillingham's like, they don't like it seems like they never go for us, like saying, right, it's a penalty, whatever. Was it or not? I don't know, but the officiation's got to be a bit better than it is, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Phil. Sorry. No, go on, carry on, mate.
Oh, sorry. Phil. Simon's right. The level of officiating does have to be better, and I think I had a joke on Saturday in the factory, and I said, I think since Josh Wright scored his hat-trick of penalties, I don't know if we've actually had 3 penalties, period.
No, it's bizarre. I did watch back the penalty call earlier today, and I do think it should have been given. It was right in front of his view, his eye line, but he decided it wasn't. And you've got to remember, penalties like that do change games, and he probably felt that if he'd given it, then it may not have been a contest. It may have been game over, given the way that Crewe were playing. So maybe that's what his thought process was. But I've got to say, actually, I felt on the whole, apart from the penalties that he missed, all 3 of them, he actually didn't do too badly. He got the yellow cards right, which led to the sending off, which again we'll come back to later. And that in itself, the game flowed on the whole. So I'm not unhappy with his refereeing, apart from not giving us the penalties.
Yeah. So we will touch on the red card because he was obviously it was a second yellow. You can't make that kind of tackle, Simon, can you? When you're already on a yellow card.
No, I mean I don't know what went through his head. If he just mistimed it, or was it, he meant to do it? I think he just mistimed it. But no, if you're on a yellow these days, you can't touch him because you're just gonna give the ref, right, that's it, you're off. And to be honest, did he want an early bath? It certainly looked like it to me.
Yeah, Mike, and I think at the minute he made the challenge, you could see that he knew he was going off because the minute he made the challenge, he was like, "Oh,
yeah."
He
knew, didn't he? He knew, yeah. Although I did wince, it might have been not long after that because Max Amer got booked, and then a couple of minutes later, he went flying into a challenge and was late. I thought, don't give him an opportunity to even it up, Max. But luckily he didn't. But yeah, no complaints. 2 yellow cards.
Yeah, your thoughts on the sending off, Bill?
Well, obviously we sit in the Rainham end, right low down, and we saw it, and it was a gloriously happy moment. The Rainham end was in one, absolutely in raptures at this little moment. So no complaints whatsoever. He got the foul. He knew he had to go. It was a nice little moment. 10 men. We thought we had the opportunity to kill this game off.
And we almost very nearly did when the ball came in, went up in the air. And this is a bone of contention. Some fans are saying it was a goal and, the keeper has put himself onto Bradley Dack. Others are saying it's a foul. So, Phil, I'll start with you on this one, mate. And what were your
I've watched it back, goodness knows how many times since Saturday. Dak has got his back to the goalkeeper. He did not know that the goalkeeper was going to be barging into him, and therefore it couldn't have been a foul. It should have been a goal. Simple as.
Right. There we go. And Mike?
Oh, should have stood all day long for me. I mean, like Phil said, but Dacky knows exactly what he's doing, but he doesn't do anything wrong. He knows he's putting himself between ball and goalkeeper, and then it's then up to the goalkeeper to take man and ball, and he does neither. All Bradley Dack's done is just stand there. He doesn't need to get out. He doesn't have to get out of the way. The goalkeeper's powder puff. That's his lookout, you know.
Yeah, Simon, your thoughts on the goal?
Yeah, it should have been. I think the goalkeepers get too much protection. You know, they go up, and no one's touched them, and the ref just blows his whistle. It's, you know, I don't know what's up with football. It used to be you can go in with a bit of a challenge, but you can't even sort of like jump up with a keeper no more, it seems.
No.
Yeah, I think I've watched it back several times. I think I'm kind of in agreement with the three of you. The only thing that I can possibly see is an arm went slightly up at a push, but it's a real big reach. It's a reach that I'm sure Crewe fans, my friend Tom included, Tom that we did our little interview with before kickoff on Saturday. So if you're watching, mate, thank you very much again. And then I think there was an opportunity. It was a bit of a scramble in the box, wasn't there? Robbie McKenzie totally missed it. It's then fallen to God knows who, and there was a couple of handball shouts in that passage of play as well. What were your thoughts on that, Mike? I bet it was all of you really. I bet it was absolutely rocking in the Rain of Men, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it felt like the good old days, where we were throwing everything at them. I think it was Max Amer that had the effort. It looked as though it was blocked by hand, and I think that's what Max was appealing. I don't think he was appealing he got fouled. I think it was the fact that they had about 3 or 4 on the line, including the goalkeeper, and I'm almost certain it hit a hand, and a hand did seem to be slightly up and away from the body. But yeah, it wasn't given, and it just added to the frustration, unfortunately.
Yeah, Simon. Yeah, where were you sat, mate? Was it handball? It was a bit of a struggle to see where I was from, because I'm in the Medway and I'm right on the halfway line. So when it's over there and you've got bodies everywhere, it was a bit more difficult for me to see.
I think it was handball, but I mean, to be honest with you, I think the linesmen in Division 2, I don't know, the others have more say, but the linesman just sticks his seams for offside or throw-ins, but sometimes they see more in the ref, I don't know if they could see it then, but I mean, I think it was handball.
Yeah, and Phil?
Well, I've got to admit, I didn't see it because at that precise moment, there were a group of people walking past the goal, and because we sit low down on the Rain end, our view was completely blocked. So
they were going home.
It was definitely a handball. I didn't see it, but the referee didn't either.
Yeah, no, it was quite funny just before half time. I always try and get up a little bit early so I can get to go and get my steak pie. I got up a couple of blokes. So, it's not that bad this week. I think I was going home. But so yeah, no, I think all round overview, like a general overview of the whole game. I think first half it was quite even. Both sides matched each other. The second half, even before the red card, we came out and we were much the better side. And we were unlucky not to win. I spoke to my mate Tom about this at full time when he was on the coach back up to Crewe, and he was saying, "Oh no, it's a fair result for everyone all round." But he's going to say that. I'm going to say something different. So so we'll move on to our man of the match, and I think it's pretty resounding again this week for the second week in the last month. Sam Gale was everyone's man of the match. So I will start with you, Phil, and your reasons why.
He was immense, absolutely brilliant. He really added something to every area of the pitch that he ran into. He gave everything in that game. Absolute pleasure to watch. There's going to be more to come from him. He's going to be a solid Gillingham player that we'll be talking about for years to come. so much to see from him in the future. But on Saturday, he really was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and Simon, yourself?
Brilliant player. Here go on further. I just hope we can keep him. What I would say, and I think you lot agree, put him up front. If he could defend like that, I'm sure he could score.
We had a couple of Dutch students sitting in the Medway on Saturday. And they were outside beforehand, and someone from the supporters club walked past me and said, "Oh, look, Dutch student blue bloke," and I just turned around and went, "Is it any of them good at scoring goals?"
He's a quality player. I mean, we're lucky to have him, to be fair.
Yeah. Mike, your thoughts on Sam?
Oh yeah, he's brilliant. He was unlucky. He had a couple of chances as well, didn't he? One off the line, and the keeper clawed one out the top bins. But yeah, he was the lift we needed pre-Walsall, because obviously he played against Barrow. I know he'd made the mistake in the game. He couldn't have done a lot about that one. But what I like about him, Kris, I mean, you know, his maturity beyond his years, and he will atone when he can for a mistake. You know, he won't let it get to him. He's quick to recover. And I think that bodes well at his age now. You know, that's only going to improve. The mistakes will get less. And he's one of our own. So, listen, well, he's young. He's one of ours. We'll take him making a mistake all day long at his age, because that's going to happen. But he will he will come on and, you know, possibly be one of the best centre-halves we've had, if we can keep hold of him for long enough.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, actually, because I was gonna say about the mistakes. I think he made 2 mistakes, but his recovery was really good on Saturday.
Yes,
which you can allow him them mistakes as well if he's going to recover and get back for it. Steve has just put on here, actually, and I was going to mention that when he was making tackles, after the tackles, he'd be like really G'ing himself up, and just, it's lovely to have a player that's got the passion for the club, and even when the way that he speaks as well, in, you know, presses and stuff, you can just tell that he loves the club. And so far, we love him, and long may it continue. I know that a few people earlier were getting a bit overexcited and saying that maybe he could potentially play for England one day. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be.
That's putting too much pressure on him, though, isn't it?
On the card, on the cards for his future. I guess it depends, really, doesn't it? But yeah, all round, I just felt it was a bit of a close one for me between him and Andy Smith.
It was very close. Yeah,
I thought Andy Smith was quite, especially in the first half, like his anticipation and stuff. Like, he reads the game so well, and he's about 10 steps ahead of everyone. Not in our team, within the opposition team, with regards to getting the ball. But yeah, massive well done to Sam, and this last week signed a new contract with us as well. So
it's in there.
There we go. So, making really good time tonight. So we'll have a quick look ahead to Saturday, because only the proper fans go to Carlisle.
I'm going. I'll be there.
That's it. I'll turn my season ticket up now. Then I'm not a proper fan.
Oh no, yeah, I know, right? So it's just a little bit of a laugh that certain individuals been having on X that apparently if we're not going to Carlisle, we're not proper fans. But yeah, it's all in jest. So yeah, 3:00 kickoff on Saturday at Brunton Park. Carlisle lost 4 and drawn 1. We've drawn, lost, drawn. So Simon, I'll come with you and your hopes and aspirations for Saturday.
When they're like that at the bottom, it's always difficult, really, because sometimes we play at their level instead of playing our own game. I've been there, and I love the atmosphere around the club. You know, like, they're so nice and everything. I just really, hopefully, we can start off, attack them, and if we can get that first goal and keep putting pressure on, who knows? You know, it's either that was going to be a draw, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Phil, your thoughts? Phil's thoughts. There you go. Look. Oh yeah, Phil. we got it in eventually.
This is a game that we've got to win. The bottom line is we are still deep in a relegation battle. Obviously, we are in a better place than Carlisle, but we need to get points on the board. I reckon we need to get 16 points to guarantee our place. We're 34 points now, 50 should see us safe. So get 3 points on Saturday, and that brings us down to 13, and fingers crossed, things will be a lot smoother going forward. Obviously, as well, it will give us confidence. It doesn't matter who we beat. Every team in this league can beat every other team, as we've seen in recent weeks. So, we need to win. Hopefully, Coleman will set us up for the win, and we'll come home with the points.
Yep. Yeah, Mike, your hopes and aspirations for Saturday?
Well, it'd be nice to finally see us get a win under Coleman. If the last 2 performances are anything to go by, it's been progression, and you'd like to think it's coming. I mean, listen, if ever there was 2 games we needed to win, ideally it's this one and then Morecambe the following week. Because they're going to be on the floor, Carlisle. Probably at a worse state than we were at our worst at Barrow, and as Simon said, if we can get the first goal, hopefully they'll cave, and then it will be comfortable for us. But we don't switch off. Get a second, get a third if we can, and just kill the game off. That would be lovely.
Haven't they got Mark Hughes as the manager now?
Yeah,
he's just taken over, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
judging by the look of that, they didn't really get much of a new manager bounce.
Oh. I just hope, like we all said. I mean, once you get that first goal, bit of confidence, just play our game, not theirs, and stop going. If we stop going like that and just have a bit of confidence, go attack them down the flanks or whatever, and get that ball in. You never know, do you? Hopefully so.
Well, I'll ask all 3 of you in a minute. I think, going back to what Phil said, I think that maybe 4 or 5 wins for us to be safe. These are the kind of teams that we've got to be beating. It's all very well and good drawing against top of the table Walsall and drawing against Crewe, who are in 7th or 8th. But it's a very Gillsy thing, isn't it, to be able to beat teams that are at the top or draw against teams that are at the top, and then we massively mess up against teams at the bottom. So, 4 or 5 wins, I think. And I'll go with score predictions then, gents. No, don't usually do this, but Simon, I'll go with you.
2-1 Gillingham.
2-1. Mike?
2-0.
2-0. 3. Yeah, we're not going to concede. And Phil?
No, I'm going to go one more. 3-0.
3-0.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I thought you...
Don't adjust
We'll
the
do
sets,
it.
ladies and
We'll do
gentlemen. We've just had a Gillingham fan, hopeful that we're going to score more than 1 goal. He's going to score 3.
My coats are coming for me after the show.
I'm going to go for 2-1 as well.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Yes.
We just need something like. It's all very well and good. It is great, and I'm not criticising the team for the last 2 games because they have really tried. And as Gills fans, that's all we can ask. But I just feel that we need to.
Well, I am frustrated that Coleman hasn't actually managed to get a victory yet in all the time that he's been with us. There's been no new manager bounce in that sense.
But then I suppose there could also be an argument with that where if I'm not saying it is Bonner, but if it is to be believed when Brad said on the Q&A about, players are kind of left to their own devices a little bit, maybe that he's come in and Stuart Lewis is going to love this because I'm actually going to agree with him to the degree of maybe he's walked into a bomb site and he's trying to put it back together. So we don't know.
I personally rate him in a sense of, what he's done. He's like I say, he don't take no messing about. That's all he can do. He can only tell the players, get your act together or whatever. And he done it publicly. I think it meant a lot to me that he did it like he did, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, I said to him, I said after the Barrow game, I said that I thought it was guff. I thought that it was, because we've been privy to it for the last 6 months to a season, loads of talk and talk is cheap and nothing happens. And I did see John in the factory at full time, and I said to him, I've got to be honest, I stand corrected, because I thought you coming out and publicly being that upset, I thought, oh, here we go, it's just guff, it's just words again. But the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Like the last 2 games, I think that the boys have really kicked on. Let's just hope we can kick on that a little bit further and start scoring some of them very important goals, boys. So, is there anything left with a look ahead? Would you like to talk about, gents, or?
Where does anyone think that the goals are going to come from? What player do you think will score?
Yeah. So I've got his shooting boots ready.
Yeah, I have, mate. Yeah. Because it's so frustrating, because football really is an easy game. It is an easy game because let the ball do the work. And they've always told you at whatever age. And we're just, I don't know where, these 2 matches have been like with the crowd at the Raymond End, like you said, was brilliant, like the old days and everything like that. I mean, the Gills fans can't give no more than we've already done, seeing disappointment. Just hopefully we can get forward or get them working that we have got. And once they get 1 or 2, then other people will go, right, well, we'll have some of this as well,
Yeah. It's a confidence thing as well, isn't it? Definitely a confidence thing. So that's that. So, boys, we are pretty much near enough at the end of the show tonight, which is good timing for us, because usually we're on here for an hour or more. But my noble steed isn't on this evening, so I'm pretty sure that's part of the reason why we're always on so long, because Mr. Warren always we like to have a discussion, shall we say.
Can I just say one thing before we go, or have you turned it off?
No, you're fine, mate. You can go ahead.
Where my name come from, that's why, because someone will go, why do they call him Pie Man? And I'm going to say this now, it was quite a funny thing. We was at Fleetwood, and I went, the missus said, can you get us a cup of tea? So I got her a cup of tea just before they were going to close. And the woman said, do you want these pies? I said, what do you mean, do you want them pies? Well, we're only going to chuck them, give them to your fans. So I said, oh, that's all right. I'm giving out the pies like that. Their chairman, Fleetwood's chairman, is sitting up there. I want them pies back. Give me them pies. I was ignoring them. Right, giving the pies out. Oh, thanks, Si. Thanks, Si. I'm going to come down. Give me them pies now. So I've got them and I threw them up at him and it went dribbled down his face. But he got sent to prison anyway for fraud. So that's it's on a good note.
So if you didn't know, you do now. That is why Si called Pie Man. And if you didn't know, we are also
a good favour.
We are also a partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. So give the guys a sign up really at GFCSC. And we're also sponsored by Snodhurst Used Car Sales and Service Station. So for all of your car needs, the information's on the screen there for you to get your car fixed or to buy one. So we are at the end of the show. If you haven't followed us on X, then you can at the View from the Medway Fancast, Facebook at the View from the Medway, and YouTube at the View from the Medway Fancast. We were unable to go live again tonight on Facebook, and I really don't know why, so that's quite annoying. But I've been Chris, he's been Pie Man Simon, he's been Mike, he's been Phil. Good night, and up the Gills.
Up the Gills. I'll see you all Saturday.